Hi guys, and welcome back to my channel. My name is Kirby, and for the ones that just now joining me, thank you so much for giving my YouTube channel a shot. I hope you find this content entertaining and informative. Most of all, informative. That's why I'm doing these videos and these episodes. So today's episode is going to be something kind of special. I am actually going to take you on a virtual field trip to North Carolina, uh, to a old drum fishing tournament that I did a couple of months ago up in North Carolina. And this tournament was set up by my Marine brother and family, Mr. Weiss, and he actually linked up with a gentleman uh, called, his name is Weston, and he is the founder of a nonprofit called Disabled Outdoorsmen USA. So with disabled, I can't talk today. I'm so sorry. With Disabled Outdoorsmen USA, they take disabled individuals of all walks of life, and they bring them on fishing trips or hunting trips, or just getting them to the outdoors and letting the disabled that letting that disabled individual experience something that they may have never experienced before, or it could be a situation of a a disabled individual was doing this particular activity prior to their injury, and once they got injured, they they thought that this part of their life was taken away and they could never do it again. So this organization gives the disabled community access to those outdoor activities once again. And I will tell you firsthand that it was extremely eye opening. It was extremely, it was an extremely welcoming feeling to me. Um, Everybody that was part of this event really welcomed me into into the world, I guess, if that makes any sense whatsoever. But it just makes it opened my eyes to what I have been missing and what I thought that I could never do, because I have been told no, that I could not do this from different individuals, because they just couldn't find a way, or we couldn't find a way how to make it work. But Weiss, my Marine, and Weston, and along with the disabled outdoorsmen, they figured it out, and this event was truly life changing for me. It was an emotional trip. It was an emotional 4 days that I honestly did not want to end. So I'm going to talk a little bit about the difficulties getting there. So I flew. I had to fly from Orlando, Florida, to to Charlotte, North Carolina, and then from North Carolina, I had to hop on another plane to fly into Raleigh. And so, with those two flights that I had to take just getting there, um, I had to get into a transfer chair 4 different times, one to get on the plane, one to get off, one to get on, and one to get off. And each time that I got on those flights and those transfer chairs, it it was very I had to swallow my pride a little bit, and I had to basically put my blinders up that I can see no one, you know. And so what I would do is I would check in at the gate, and they would say, okay, we're gonna board you first, or you know we'll let first class go, and then we'll board you. And then so I would make my way down to the tarmac, and they would bring this blue skinny uh, chair com- contraption with literally about 6 or 7 buckles and straps that they literally had to put me into a strap, um, all over my body. So I would be sitting there, transferred into this transfer seat, and so they would strap my legs down on my ankles, and then they would strap my legs down on the the top of my legs, and then they would strap me down on my waist, and then that's 3, and then they would do my chest, and then they would strap me down over the a shoulder harness kind of thing, almost like a parachute. And then once those were all snapped in and buckled in and everything, they told me to cross my arms. So I was sitting like this, and while I was sitting like this, they would bring another strap across right here on both of my arms. So I'm sitting crossed, and they would go across. My arms would cross, and then they would cross me. There we go. Um, and so they would be wheeling me down the middle of the plane aisle, and I can't help but feel like I felt like Hannibal Lecter. You know, I should have had a mask on, or you know, one of the face guards that you see in the movie. Um, just because I felt that is the image that I had in my head. And again, that's a negative self image of myself because of the situation that I was in, because I had to physically be helped onto a plane, and that is the solution that they have in place for their airline. Now, I'm not going to mention the airline or anything like that because it's a great airline, but it's just that, again, that I think that just needs to be changed a little bit. So I did that, like I said, 4 times. One to get off, one to get on, and vice versa. So once I get to Raleigh Durham, I'm in the airport, and I link up with another angler that is waiting as well. So we get to talking, and so we swap our stories and everything, and so we got a connection going, which was awesome. And then our 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 other 2 anglers came in, and which was excuse me, which one of the guys that was coming in was actually the owner of Disabled Outdoorsman, which is his name was Weston. And so I met up with Weston and the 2 other anglers, and we had to, once Weston got our vehicle to make the other to make the final 2 hour drive to where we were staying. He pulls up in the truck, and it was like a F-150, I think, or something like that, a 4-door F-150. So for me, again, it was a new experience of transferring into a lifted truck. So I had to figure out how to do that, and that wasn't too bad, but it was just another experience that I had to figure out on the fly. And so again, once we all got in the truck, we all started talking, figuring out where everybody was from, what we like to do, what we do for jobs, and just getting to know each other, which was fantastic. It was so cool. And all the while I'm talking to these guys, talking to them and getting to know them, I'm going through my mental situation that I'm trying to leave behind for the weekend. For this past year, it was probably, I will say, it is the second hardest year that I have gone through in my entire life. Back in October of 2020, I lost everything that I held dear to me in 1 month. First month, I lost my Marine unit because of my health issues and some other circumstances. So I had to step away from that, and then the the second the second week of October October, my work uh, emails me and says my services are no longer needed because of COVID and all that jazz that's going on with that. So I lost that right after, and then right after I lost my my employment, I lost the most important thing to me, which was my then fiance, and so that relationship ended, and so all of that happened in 1 month. So I was dealing with all of that baggage, and all of those emotions and depression and anxieties and everything from that 1 month, everything just falling apart in 1 month. So when I was like, and fast forward again, once I got to this trip, I was trying to, make this trip a release from all that, kind of like a fresh start. And so I that's what I was working on in the truck driving to um, our hotel and our final destination. So I'm talking to these guys and dealing with, well, like I said, dealing with all the emotions of what I'm leaving behind for the weekend. And so it was a very surreal experience. From the very beginning, it was a very surreal experience. And once we got out on the water the very next day, so that's day one of the fishing tournament. We get out there at like 6 a.m. and it was the weather in the very beginning. Right when we got on the boat, it was great. It was beautiful weather. Wasn't cold. It was beautiful. But once we got out on open water, the waves got choppy and there were white caps, and it was pretty rough weather in the beginning. But we made the run across like the Bay Area, um, out into deeper water, and so we got out there, and the minute we put our lines in the water, literally within uh, literally within like 15 minutes of putting our lines in the water, we got two different bites, but we lost both bites, and I'll explain more about that while you're watching the actual video. But one of them broke our line, and then the second one actually just spit out the hook. And then after that, we couldn't land anything else. Like the fish disappeared, like there was nothing. And so so nothing happened for a few hours, and then we moved on to another location on that day, and then we did hook up on a cow nose ray, which was kind of cool for me because I used to work with the cow nose rays at my previous employment, and so uh, being hooked up to a cow nose ray was kind of cool because I've never seen them fight before, And so, or I've never felt them fight, and they were pretty. It was pretty intense fight for a cow nose. And so we released the cow nose, and everything was good there. But then again, after that catch of the cow nose, nothing. There was nothing, no bites, no anything, and the water was getting rougher and rougher as the day went on. So fast forward, because that day ended and there was nothing else. So we battled our way back in, kind of defeated almost, because we just couldn't land anything, and we were getting radio calls that another angler actually landed, I think, two that day, which was really cool for him. I'm very happy for the kid that actually landed the two drums that he did. He actually ended up winning the tournament, so that was kind of cool. But yeah, it was disheartening at that point. But so fast forward to day two. Day two, we get up. I was up at like 4:30 in the morning, but we were out on the water again by 6, 5:30 or 6, somewhere around there. And again, we were battling the weather. We were battling the rain, because there was a couple of rainstorms that day as well. And so just white caps everywhere. And we fished the entire day, and just no bites, nothing, zero. And it was the best time of my life. It really was. It was really, really fun, and I would not change it for the world. But it was also just so dang irritating that we couldn't find the fish, and we couldn't hook up. And it was just, Weiss and I were like, we were both like, what the fuck is going on? Because we couldn't find them. We saw the bait balls and everything, so we knew where they were, or where they were supposed to be, but we just couldn't hook up the entire day. And so the tournament was winding down, and Weiss was like, "Hey, you want to just go inland, and we can fish for smaller fish, like smaller bass or something like that." And I told him multiple times, like, no, I want to stay out here. I came to North Carolina. Excuse me. I came to North Carolina to land a drum. That's what I want to land. And so, all right, we pushed through it, and he said, all right, we got one more spot. And so we were going closer to the dock area. And we passed this another offshore area that had kind of like a lighthouse, that was in the water. It was an old abandoned lighthouse. It's kind of cool to see. So we set up shop there, and again, we couldn't see anything. Nothing was around. But so we threw our lines in the water and let them soak. And again, it was 30 minutes, probably 45, 30 minutes before our tournament end time, until it ended. And our line started screaming. And we're like, oh, this is going to be cool. And Weiss and I have had multiple conversations about this since that day, because we both had that same fear of, this fish is going to spit the hook or break the line before we can land it. And as you can see in the video, we finally do land a fish, which is awesome. It was a 48 incher, yeah, 48 incher, which is fantastic. And it was just an amazing trip. And when I'm showing you this video, you will see the commentary and hear the commentary of the struggles that I was going through while fighting that fish. A few times I honestly thought that I was going to be flung into the water, because that's how strong that fish was. And then in the very beginning of the video, you'll hear a pop or a crack, and both Weiss and I think that was the reel kind of getting jostled out of the rod itself. So we honestly thought the rod was going to break or the reel was going to break. So without any further ado, here is the video of the North Carolina Disabled Outdoorsmen Old Drum Tournament. And I hope you enjoy. And if you do have any questions, please write them in the comments below. And again, I hope you all have a great day. All right, bye. All right, guys, this is Kirby. Welcome back to my channel. As I stated earlier, I am on the phone with my longtime good friend, Zach Weiss, which was my fishing guide as well for the Old Drum tournament that I was talking about up in North Carolina. And basically, we're just going to be talking about the tournament from his point of view and my point of view. And we're just going to be, shooting the shit, basically. So, Weiss, how you doing, man?
Hey, Kirby, how you doing? Thanks for having me, man.
Yeah. So I basically just want to start off, and I want to hear from your side of things on what it took to start this or make this tournament come to life, and also just for my own curiosity of what made you want to start, or what made you want to do this event in the first place.
Yeah. So originally, we were putting together an event, and something that I put together in my mind was kind of putting a trip together for veterans or things like that. But as I kind of spitballed this idea and rolled it around, I kind of wanted to go with people with disability and not just veterans with disabilities. I wanted to focus on all sorts of angles. So I think there's a lot of people that have disabilities that have never had the opportunity to even join the military or serve the country because they were born with a disability. I think that there's a lot of programs that do focus on veterans, and I didn't want to exclude people. So I think my goal and my mindset was if I just hit a big event and focus on anybody with a disability and getting them outdoors and getting them fishing, then it's a success. And not just focus on vets, again, because I think there's lots of people that, you're born with a disability, and whether you wanted to or not, like, you didn't get to serve the country. You didn't get to, be in the military, and that's what I wanted to avoid. So that's what kind of led me down the rabbit hole, and then putting together some sort of outdoor event. And the number one thing that screamed at me was old drum fishing. I love old drum fishing. I'm obsessed with old drum fishing. My wife will tell you that. It's something I think about it all year long. My close friends will tell you that. And so for me, I know how to catch old drum. I know how to catch old drum well. And I thought it would be really fun to get people with disabilities who might not have that same opportunity to catch some of these, world-class fish and give them the opportunity to land one of these monsters, as you saw.
Yeah, exactly. And honestly, from my point of view, coming out and just getting on the water, I personally had no idea what I was in for. I had.
It's intimidating, man. The Pamlico Sound is an intimidating body of water. You guys saw that too. The Old Drum tournament, we did not have good weather at all, and the Pamlico Sound is known for being rough. It can get rough quick.
Yeah, and it proved that when we were out there for sure.
That's right.
I mean,
yeah.
Day one was absolutely hell.
Which is kind of unfortunate. The day before you guys got out there, my dad and I actually got out of the water, and I was kind of doing a little bit of a scouting trip, looking for bait, and it was glass. Dude, I shit you not, the sound was glass, and I told my dad, I said, just watch, it's going to be blowing tomorrow. Sure thing, you guys all get in from all different states, the Disabled Outdoorsmen, we kick it off, and she's blowing wide open. Yeah.
Oh yeah. Oh, she was. She definitely was. Now, for again, what was it like for you? As I know you and we've known each other for years, but what obstacles did you have to did you have to overcome to get basically to figure out how to get me in your boat personally? And what was your mindset? Even before I arrived, what was your mindset of how are you going to get this tournament, going?
Yeah, so the tournament itself, getting the tournament set up took months of planning, getting funding, getting housing, hotels, food, things like that. But besides all that, when you guys get here and we get to the fishing, like that kind of gets into the fun stuff. That's the stuff that keeps me up at night in a good way, thinking about the fun stuff. And there weren't really that many obstacles when it comes to, getting you on a fish as you would with any other person, any other client that gets in your boat. The first thing you're worried about is getting them hooked up and getting them that experience. That's your number one thing that you want to get for anybody that gets in your boat when it comes to old drum fishing. So that's the first obstacle, is finding the fish. But then certain elements can play into a part. So you've got to start looking at the weather. You've got to start planning, and you've kind of got to look at the wind throughout the day. What's the water going to be like? And those are just kind of elements that come into it as you kind of old drum fishing on the Pamlico down. So honestly, Kirby, nothing really changed in my plan originally. The original plan was to find fish, and we find the fish, we'll assess it as we go. And as you saw, we got into that on day one. We had 2 hookups and we had 2 breakoffs. So
yeah. And walk me through that, honestly, because I know what I was feeling when we broke off twice. I know exactly what I was feeling. What were you feeling?
Okay, I was feeling super excited, honestly. So if you remember, when we first got there at the ramp, everybody was kind of discussing their plan, their strategy, where they wanted to go. And just for your video's sake, at that point where we stepped off from Diamond Shoals ramp, the wind was blowing out of the east at 15 miles per hour. So on the Pamlico Sound, that's not bad, but it's not good. This is not good old drum fishing when it comes to popping corks. It might be good for bait fishing, but it's not good for trying to find bait and popping corks. Anyways, we took a risk, and I know you remember it. We ran across the entire sound.
Yep.
It was a rough ride early in the morning. I told you to put a mouthpiece in with how rough it was going to be, and I think we ran over to what in my strategy was called Turnagain Bay, and to get to the backside of Turnagain Bay, with that eastern wind, we'd be able to hide and find some bait and avoid some of that choppy water. But we had to go through some rough seas to get kind of calmer water.
Yeah, exactly.
But it panned off for us. We were able to find that bait. We were able to get on them, and that's when we hooked up. And so my feeling then was excitement, because we had 2 hookups, and we had 2 hookups very early in the tournament. But getting you in position, I think, was a little bit more difficult than I assumed it would be. So if you remember, we hooked up, and then I was trying to get the line to you. Both times the fish outmaneuvered us and broke us off before we could really kind of, say that we got you into the fight.
Right, exactly, yeah, because I remember the first one broke the line, I believe, and the second one literally spit the hook out.
Yep. First one, we tried to muscle her up to get to you, and that's when I just think we had a bad, we'd kind of gotten into some blues earlier. I think the line might have been a little tethered, so we broke off. And then the second hookup we had, we were getting the line up to you, having you in position, and then she was able to spin behind us to give her enough slack that she was able to spit the hook on us.
Yeah, because if I remember, I was sitting at the bow of the boat.
Yep.
And she was going toward the stern.
Yep, behind us. So at that point, Kirby, I was feeling hopeful. I was like, hey, we're having a good day, we got 2 hookups, 2 breakoffs. We're early. We could change our strategy. This is a good day. But then the wind switched from the east, and it came north. And when it switched to north, it was blowing straight down Turnagain Bay, and that's when we couldn't find bait. got choppy and it got nasty, and I think that's when my heart sank a little bit on day one. I was thinking, as we got to like noon, 1 o'clock in the afternoon, I was like, man, we missed our chances.
Right.
And that's when I started to feel a little disheartened. Yeah.
Gotcha. Yeah, I mean and I vividly remember telling you this on day one. It's like for all the emotions that I personally have went through for the past year, and you and I have talked about this multiple times. I felt like I didn't really care. I mean, I cared if I caught a fish, yes, but it wasn't gonna be a ruined trip for me if I didn't catch an old drum. I personally just enjoyed being out in the water with you and sharing our camaraderie that we have, and just catching up with you since our days at Bravo, and then it just was, for me, being out in the water has been and always will be therapeutic for me. And so when you invited me to come to this tournament, it was exactly what I needed at exactly the right time.
Well, I appreciate that, Kirby. And I agree with you. And that sometimes I think you lose that aspect, whether you're guiding a trip or even for tournament purposes, or, for what the purpose of this fishing trip was, the Disabled Outdoorsman trip. Sometimes you can, I think, as a guide, lose that mindset of what exactly you just said. The fact that, success isn't just in landing the fish. It was enjoying our time together out in the water.
Exactly. And kind of circle around a little bit to the maneuverability and the lack of ability on my part. It was very eye-opening. This whole experience was very eye-opening to me of what I physically can do as a disabled person, getting out on a boat, going out in deep water, and actually catching a fish almost bigger than I am. I never really expected that to be a reality, and that goes, same with that goes. I guess huge props to you and to the Disabled Outdoorsman, to having this tournament, to just having that mindset of, fuck it, we'll find a way,
That's right.
We'll find a way out there.
Yeah. So I guess that's the way it was. I guess which brings us to probably day 2, and finding a way for you and I to land a fish, right?
Yeah, exactly. Day two. I was excited. I woke up like at 4:30 in the morning. Well above all the other anglers. So I was down in the hotel room lobby. I was drinking a Coke or something, and just waiting for Weston to get the truck pulled around and get the day started, because I was like, all right, we got 2 break-offs. That means they're there. So let's see what this next day has planned for us.
Yeah, that's right. Well, not to dampen to dampen that parade, but that morning I woke up and I grumbled a little bit, in the sense that I immediately, like I do during the old drum season, the first thing I opened was the weather app, and I looked and I saw blowing northeast 18 miles per hour at 4:30, 5 a.m. And so I was like, you got to be kidding me. Usually the mornings on Pampa Sound are just, you can probably sneak in like an hour or 2 hours before the wind picks up. But when it's 4:30, 5 a.m. blowing 18 out of the northeast, the day is only getting worse. And so it was just kind of like one of those things where I just shook my head and I was like, all right, well, you gotta overcome this. You're gonna have to change your strategy. What do you want to do? And that's kind of when I sat down and I thought about it after we left after day 1. What we were going to do, and we obviously had to throw out corking. Like, corking isn't an an option when it's blowing like that on the sound. So corking was out the window, and we were going to switch solely to cut bait. And if we needed to switch positions as many times and locations, then we were going to switch throughout the day. Or we were going to find a spot, and we were going to find a good spot, and we were just going to set up, and we were just going to, chum that area until we caught one.
Chum in the water.
Yeah, I had a fairly good idea of where we could catch one. It's been a promising area when it comes to cut bait, and that was my decision. I was like, all right, we're going to switch Kirby's position in the boat. We're going to get him in the back of the boat, in the seat in the back. We're going to get set up at my favorite spot, and we are just going to chum, like there's no tomorrow. Like, we're going to switch baits every 10 minutes. I'm going to keep some stink going, some constant menhaden oil, and we're going to get one just by chumming. We're going to lure one in. Because when the wind's blowing and the whitecaps are out like that, that's all you can really do. And so that was my strategy going into day two.
Right. And it was a good strategy. I mean, it worked. As you see in the video, it worked out in the end for sure.
Yeah, well, we fought all day. We had a couple stingrays where we had two or three stingrays.
Yep. And those were the cow nose, right?
Yeah, the cow nose rays. Yep. So we had, I don't remember, it was two or three of those, but usually, so bull drum sometimes will travel with cow nose rays. So that's always a good sign. So you're kind of like, that line starts screaming, and you're kind of like, you can tell when the line screams, like whether it's bull drum or whether it's a ray. I kind of can. So when you start getting into the rays, you're kind of like, okay, like it's gonna happen. But it didn't happen for us all day long,
Right.
I think it was like after the third ray, and we're getting to it was I think like 12:30, and drop dead time was 2 o'clock, right?
2 o'clock, yeah.
Yeah. So it was like 12:30. I think we landed the third ray, and we're kind of like, dude, I started to feel down in the dumps. I was like, this isn't gonna happen. Like, we're not gonna catch a bull drum here. This is not happening.
Yep, I remember this conversation. Yep.
So I said to you, what did I say to you?
From what I remember from that day, you were like, let's go in to the one of the inlets, to catch some of the smaller fish, like the bass or one of the small flounders, just to get me on the board with something. And I vividly remember telling you no. I came out here for the bull reds, and we're staying out here until time calls.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, I think I had slightly convinced you. I think I said to you, I was like, hey man, why don't we go catch a puppy drum or a flounder? We got like an hour left, and we can catch those on the way into the dock. And I think you agreed. We pulled up anchor, and then we were running back in off the main body of water, off the sound, to kind of go slip back up into Diamond Shoals. And I think that was when you said, "Hey man, can I change my mind?" And I was like, "What?" We were running fast. I was like, "What?"
Yep.
We were like,
change my mind.
Like we got an hour left. Let's go big or go home. And I was like, all right,
go big or go home. Yep. I remember because we pulled up next to or close to that lighthouse that was on our right hand side.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that was kind of like my last hurrah there. I was like, hey, all right, we can kind of sit up off this creek here. We use the old lighthouse. We'll set up off that point, and it's kind of a good little ambush site for old drum. And we had an hour left, and we anchored down. We got the chum back in the water. We got the oils going. We got the cut bait going, and we were back in business in the final hour of the tournament.
Yeah, exactly. And I, on my side, I'm not gonna lie, it was coming down to like that 45-minute mark before we hooked up, and I was getting discouraged at that point. I was like, maybe I made a mistake, and maybe we should go in and catch something smaller before time calls, but. We were already out there. Lines were in the water, and what was it? Was it like 45 minutes or 30 minutes before time calls? And that's when our lines started going.
the line started screaming at 1:27, and drop dead time for the tournament was would have been 3 p.m.
Yeah, yes. And honestly, right when that line started screaming, dude, I was praying, like I was praying to every god imaginable that line did not break.
Well, I told you at the beginning. You kept saying like, oh, I think I got a bite, and I was like, you're gonna know. I was like, you're gonna know when that line, that there's one on there. I was like, that line it's not a bite. That line's just gonna start screaming.
Yeah.
And yeah, 1:27. I like just pitched that bait out there, and then I don't even think that bait got to the bottom. Got to the bottom of the sound before it started screaming.
No, yeah, exactly. It didn't. I mean, because you throw it out, and before you really put it back into the holster, it was going.
Yeah, it was. Yeah.
And so, and I guess that brings me to I guess the video now is, if you want to walk me through what if you could watch the video on your end and kind of just walk me through of on the angler side, or I'm sorry, on the guide side of things, what was going through your mind? What was, just walk me through what was happening during that time.
Okay. Yeah, I can do this for you. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. So at this point, the line started screaming. I got you set up. I didn't really know at this point if it was an old drum or if it was a ray. So you can kind of see me in the background. I'm trying to get the other lines in that we had bait out. So I'm trying to get those lines in right now. After I've gotten them in, you're fighting that fish. I'm kind of waiting to see. I still don't know at this point if it was a ray or if it was a drum. Trying to keep that line tight. Just sometimes with those old drums, the line doesn't stay tight, and she'll spit the hook. Yeah, I wanted you to keep that line tight at all times. You're fighting her good. You got her good. I will tell you, at this point, in my mind, I had made up that it was a ray. It had done 3 long drags. And when you kind of do those 3 long drags, it kind of mimics like the way a ray pulls rather than just like that straight shot.
Right.
So I'm like, all right, we got a ray on,
Gotcha. A big ray.
Yeah, I was like, man, we're back on a big old cow nose. Also, there was a click at the beginning. That reel had never been in that rod before. And my hands were in your way because I thought that reel was going to bust up out of that rod when it clicked. I'd never ever heard that before, so I was a little afraid that something might happen there.
Right. That I remember that sound, and I thought it was the actual rod itself.
Yeah. You still got it. I'm kind of trying to keep a lookout for it. You can see me kind of perk up here, kind of like a little bird dog. That fish was pulling you out of that chair though a little bit,
Oh, it was. I was terrified I was going to go in that water.
Yeah, so I resituated right there. I perk up. I saw a gold glimmer. And that kind of gold glimmer, I saw the bull drum. And I whispered in your ear, you got a bull drum. Don't panic. You got a bull drum. And, you and I talked about this. I think I might have been speaking out loud because I was like, this is it. Like, we're about to finish the tournament out. We got a bull drum on the line here. And I might have been talking to myself.
Yep. Oh, man. But honestly, if you were talking to me or you, I still needed to hear that because I was panicking.
So at this point, he does what the other 2 fish did. She tried to outmaneuver us and come to the backside. So you quickly handed it off to me. We redirected the fish, spun her back out to the back, and then put you right back into the fight. In other words, she might have been able to get behind us and spit the hook again.
Yeah.
And then, you get her right up here to the back of the motor, and I'm trying to grab a hold of her, but at this point, because obviously, you can't move up the side of the boat. A lot of times I like to have that happen where we can kind of plane the fish out and grab it. But at this point, she kind of gets back up underneath the motor and the ladder well, so I'm just trying to get her up and out.
Yeah, and honestly, that's the part of the land that I felt kind of, for my disability. I thought my disability kind of got in the way because
No, not at all.
I couldn't get out of your way, you know. So I was like, I'm going to make him lose his fish.
No, not at all. Not at all, dude. You did it. And I mean, there you are. You got that piece, and that's why you've got fishing teams, and I think you and I are a great team, man. You know, when it comes to this, I think that's the first fish of many fish that you and I are going to be able to land together. I had a great time here, but I think it was a lifetime experience. Something that you and I both will never forget.
Oh yeah, I will never forget this tournament and this trip. You know, as long as I live, I really won't. You know, I talk to my dad and my brother about it all the time. You know, because my brother is an avid hunter, and he goes deer fishing. Wow, he goes deer hunting. He goes deer hunting a lot, and I've always wanted to go with him, but as much as he wants me to go with him, he never could figure it out. So, I always get to hear about the stories about him going hunting. And so now I kind of have my own story of how we landed this bull red, and how we overcame all the obstacles that hit us for those 2 days on the water.
Well, where there's a will, there's a way, and you're not an obstacle. Nobody in your situation is an obstacle. You're one of the best fishing teammates I've ever had, and we'll continue to do this. I know Disabled Outdoorsmen, Wes and I will continue to put on events like this. And I think this is just our first bucket list fish derby. I think you and I, we're going to land a tarpon next. We're going to land a big striper next. Let's keep going. Let's keep chasing some big fish.
Oh yeah, I'm down. I am 100% down for that.
Sweet dude. Hey Kirby, I appreciate you having me on your channel, man.
Yeah, anytime, man, anytime. And again, you're welcome on this channel anytime you want. You just let me know, and we'll get it working.
That's good. I appreciate it, Kirby.
Yeah, I'll talk to you soon.
All right, take care.
All right. Hey guys. All right, so there was the video of the Disabled Outdoorsmen Old Drum Tournament in North Carolina, and my personal experiences with the tournament. I hope you found it enjoyable and insightful as well. And again, if you have any questions about anything that I'm covering, or things that I'm not covering that you want to know about, please let me know in the comments below, and I will jot those down and put those in future episodes that are coming up soon. So again, thank you for joining me, and I really hope you I hope you enjoyed this content. And if you have not already, go ahead and click that like and subscribe button for me. And of course, if you want to leave a comment, let me know that you're watching. And I hope you have a good day, and I will talk to y'all soon. And I'm working on the next episode right now. I'm not sure exactly what direction I'm going to take this in yet, but we'll figure that out when the time comes, right? So again, I hope you have a great day and a great week, and stay safe, everybody. All right.